Today we're going to learn a pivot point trading strategy for Forex. And we're going to get into all of the details, plus a couple bonus tips. And if you stay to the end, I have something special for you. But first of all, I want to let you know that this is a channel where we want engagement. Because this is a great opportunity. In the past, you could just watch things, but you couldn't engage. So I need for you to let me know in the comments what type of content you want to see. What do you need the most help with? What's challenging you? What do you want to learn? Do you want to learn about RSI and MACD? Do you want to learn about support and resistance? Do you want to learn about money management? Do you want to learn a new profitable strategy? Just let me know in the comments, and then in the next video, I'm going to go ahead and answer your question with more content. And this is a great opportunity because in the past, people couldn't do this, right? They just were passive. So I'm going to encourage you, don't be a passive viewer, but be engaged in the community. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And also, if you stay to the end, I've got something special for you. And while you're at it, just hit that like and subscribe button. Okay, so the very first thing is right now I'm doing daily on gold. And we have the pivot points, and let me delete this resistance point, but we got a pivot point right here. And you can see there's S1, S2, S3, and S4. Okay, and then above the pivot point, so the pivot point is the middle. But then above that, you have R1, R2, R3, and R4. And what those are is resistance points above and support points below. And the best way to trade this is to look at the pivot point, and when price is above the pivot point, you're going to be looking for the price to continue to go up to new levels. All right? Now, so right now, where price is, you can kind of see where it's at right now, and you can identify that it's probably going to go up to R1. Okay? So right now, what I'm going to be looking at is I'm going to be watching this trade. As a matter of fact, this was actually an entry point for me because it crossed above the pivot point. And when it crosses above one level, you can expect it to get to the next level, right? And of course, in trading, nothing is perfect. But if you test this over and over and over again, you will be able to see how the levels have acted. So right now, we'll be watching it, and we're going to be expecting here. So when it crossed above, I would take a buy signal right here, and I would say, okay, I think it's going to go all the way up to 164, 165, right? Now, when it gets here, you expect a little bit of resistance because that's why they call it a resistance, and I'd be expecting price to stall out. And it might come back down, right? It might come back down to the pivot point, right? Right back down to the pivot point. So if we can see here, it might come up like this, and then it might come back down, okay? That's definitely something that we could look for. So if that's the case, we would put our entry in right here and our take profit right here. Okay, and I'm trying to do forward thinking rather than going back, and I might go back a little bit. I might look over here at some past examples, but it's good to be able to look forward, right? So we're going to be looking for price to get here, and at that point, I'm looking to take profit. Now, depending on how long-term of a trader you are, you might want to hold it long-term, but you got to remember that each one of those levels has a possibility for a bounce. So if we're going to go up here, we'd look for it to possibly bounce right back down here, and you can see the pivot point acts as support. But also there's some support and resistance here as well, right? Because we have level here, a level here, a level here. And this pen is a new little toy for me. I like this pen. I'm playing with it. I never had this before, and now that I got it, I know this is not a big deal for some people, but for me it's pretty cool. It's a new pen, a new toy. But so we have the support. So what I would be looking at is for it to come back, and then it might come here, right? And when it comes down here, we're going to watch it and see how price reacts. That's really what price action trading is all about, seeing how price reacts. So when it comes, and I'll be like, okay, if it comes back down, well, then I'd be looking for it to go to the next support level. And you can use trend lines too. Oh, if it comes back, hits this pivot, and breaks this, well, then I'm looking for it to go to the support 1. If it breaks support 1, I'd be looking for it to go to support 2. You'll also notice I have a 50-period SMA, right? And so the 50-period SMA, it's interesting to note it's right in line with the S1 or the R1. So what's probably going to happen? It's probably going to hit the R1 and it's probably going to bounce a little bit. Now, if this is a real reversal, which I happen to believe that it is, because if you saw my other video, I believe that we have a double bottom right here. Okay, and this is free bonus content, extra charge. This is a double bottom, and when you see a double bottom, we get like a little W pattern, and that W should come back up here. Honestly, that's where I think we're going to be headed. All right, but just in the next short term, we're going to see, I believe, some stalling. So that means get out here and then monitor it. It's either going to stall and go sideways and then go up to R2, or that's option number 1, or it's going to stall and then come back down to P1. And then at that point, it's got to make another decision. Is it going to break lower and go to S1, S2, S3, S4? So basically at each level, you watch and see what price does, and then how it responds, you go to the next level. So if we zoom this up, let's do that. Let's zoom this to a different time frame now. We're going to go to a 1 hour. Right now, we're looking at a daily chart. Okay, this is a daily chart. So now I'm going to drop the time frame to a 1 hour chart. Okay, and the pivot point levels stay the same based off of that. Now, when you drop to a 1 hour chart, you will notice that the pivot points change. So what I'm going to do is draw the levels at the price point because I want to see on the daily. And that's because of the type of pivot point indicator that I have. If you have a different one, it might not do that, but this is the one that I've been using, and so I've just been drawing it like this so I can just see the levels. So now that I go to an hourly, okay, and it's kind of cool because now I get to see the daily and the hourly levels, and we remember the hourly levels are not going to be as strong as the daily. But so let's go back to the daily again. So we'll see that the daily's at 1749. You go to hourly, and there's 1745. So here's the pivot point, right? And so what you can see now, and we can see this is where the R1 is on the daily, but it's also the R3 on the hourly. So what's cool about this is we're going to say, oh, we have 2 pivot points. We have an hourly and a daily. So when price gets up here, we're going to watch this, and we're going to notice that there's 2 pivot points. And you can also look at the chart for support and resistance as well. And so let's go ahead and do that. We can go back and look at support and resistance. And you'll say, okay, so here's a support level, right? And that's also a resistance level. So R2 has support and resistance. You want to get as many levels as you can. And then when you get to the level, you will just watch the price action. And so right now, price is stalling out. It's not quite up to the pivot point. I think it could continue to get there, but you're going to watch and see what happens. So you just watch these levels. So right here we have a little bit of a wedge happening, right? And so watch this. If it breaks out of the wedge, we can expect it to come back to the pivot point. If it breaks up, we could expect it to go up to the other pivot point. So that's really how we do it. And then right now, like I would be looking at this. If I see, I'll be watching and waiting. I don't like to trade in between, so I'm just going to be patient. Let the market come to you. When it starts getting back down here, then watch and see what happens. Draw a triangle or a trend line, or just watch the candlestick patterns and see what happens from that point forward. Okay, so one thing I wanted to notice also is that on this indicator, and I'm going to delete all of these lines. You just go to Objects and you just delete the lines. And there we go. We still got the indicator, but the lines are now deleted. I believe that they should still be here. Yeah, so with this indicator, you can go to Indicator Settings. And this one's called the Pivot Points All-in-One. And you can show how many periods. So if I go back, I can now go back 10 days. Okay, and what you can do is it'll draw in. And this is kind of cool because you can actually see how the price has stalled. So this was R1, and look what happened. It stalled out, and then finally it took off, and then it went up, right? And then right down the next day, the day before, it went here, and this was the support, right? It stopped. The day before that, look, it stopped at the pivot point, okay? So when it's consolidating, there might not be a lot of action here on these pivots. Oh, this is an hourly, or an H4, but you can see it on a daily too. You can see where these levels are, right? You see how it stopped here. You see how it stopped here. And you can see where the price now is going up and where it's going to stall out. So pivot points can be really helpful, especially if you use them in conjunction with the moving average, support and resistance. You can also use it as a MACD as well to help you with your trading. So that is what I'm looking at for pivot points. Hopefully that's helpful. If you have any questions, please, please, please ask, and I will get to them. Okay, and now I said that I was going to give you a little bonus, and I did mean that. And so how to access some free picks, right, directly to your email. And the link is going to be in the description. It's going to be in the description. So if you go down to the description, you'll see a link that says Tim's Picks, and it'll bring up a page like this. And this, Tim will give you, and if you guys don't know Tim is a host on this channel, and he is one of my favorite people. He is a tremendous trader and has taught me a lot, and he's funny and he's a great teacher. So he's going to give you picks on a weekly basis. Awesome, awesome, awesome calls, okay? And so with that being said, I recommend you check out his newsletter, and it's totally free, and you get picks on stocks, Forex, and crypto every week. That's your little bonus for today. And hey, thanks for watching the video. Please reach out to me because I'm here. I don't like talking to the air. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you need.